Revolutionary greetings, comrades. The Zimbabwe Communist Party Central Committee has issued a statement with respect to the 2023 elections. These are our observations as the party. And firstly, we are saying, as communists, we do not confuse democracy with voting. The word democracy is derived from Greek and means ruled by the people. Without democratic control of the means of production and of the productive process, multi-party democracy, the contestation of political parties in an election every 5 years, has only limited relevance to the well-being of the people, in particular to the working masses. Bourgeoisie democracy gives the illusion of popular power, while the reality is that all major decisions are made by the bankers and monopoly capital. Plus, in the case of Zimbabwe and in many other African countries, the black elite, under the guise of indigenous economic empowerment, lives a life of conspicuous consumption while treating the working class majority with arrogant contempt. We must check in the lifestyle of the political leadership in Cuba and compare that with our own political leadership in Zimbabwe and the rest of the African continent. We have seen in Gabon that millions were discovered in the houses of the former leaders in Gabon. The majority are forced to look for survival by any means necessary, and in the main either continue to live in poverty or are forced to become unwanted migrants in other countries. I was at the ANC manifesto review in Dobsonville yesterday, and one of the issues that came up is the issue of migrants, and the migrants, undocumented migrants to be specific, are unwanted in South Africa and in many parts of the continent. The Zimbabwe Communist Party does not believe that an election alone, without a well-organized and politically clear mass movement, can create a substantial change for the better. In the case of this specific election, it has brought no change at all. The ZCP leadership forecast this well before the election took place. The Zimbabwe Communist Party is opposed to the holding of national and local elections simultaneously. Local concerns become buried by this process, yet it is frequently at the local level that people are able to make decisions which better their lives. The 2023 election, its main focus was on the presidential campaign, not on issues at local level. The Zimbabwe Communist Party has no faith in either ZANU-PF or CCC. We have said in the past that when we criticize ZANU-PF, we are donated to CCC and are called the agents of imperialist forces. When we criticize CCC, we are donated to ZANU-PF. And already when we issued this statement, in some chat groups, we are already being donated to ZANU-PF to say, why are we being critical of CCC? Both parties reject national planning in favor of free enterprise. Both are ideologically trapped in the mantra of making money make sense, as opposed to the development of production, the control of the financial sector, and the nationalization of the commanding heights of the economy. The history of Zimbabwean politics is complicated. We have seen some communist parties congratulating ZANU-PF on its electoral victory against the Western-backed CCC. We have seen our friends in the United States, some have congratulated ZANU-PF. The Socialist Party of Zambia, we've seen their statement, they've done the same. We understand this position, but the truth is far more complex. While hiding behind the finger of anti-imperialism, ZANU-PF continues to be a party led by great and violent elitists enjoying an extravagant lifestyle of conspicuous consumption. But that CCC, the successor of MTC, indeed enjoys the support of Western imperialism, and in particular that of the USA and the UK, is without dispute. Currently, the people in the urban areas, in particular the urban working class, vote mainly for Triple C due to having witnessed the deindustrialization of Zimbabwe and the decline in real wages and living standards under ZANU-PF rule, especially since the introduction of the Economic Structural Adjustment Program, ESAP, in 1991. On the other hand, most of the rural population perceived Triple C, that is Citizens Coalition for Change, as an organization opposed to the land reform, which began in 2000 when Zimbabwe War veterans, as combatants of the Zimbabwe People's Revolutionary Army ZIPRA and Zimbabwe African National Liberation Army ZANLA, took over white-owned farms, forcing the government to adopt land reform. The majority of the rural population believe that a Triple C government will return their land to the white farmers. We raised this question when we did a brief analysis in this YouTube channel on the elections in Zimbabwe. To understand properly the twisted parties, to understand properly the twisted complexities of the politics of Zimbabwe, we have to examine our history. We have dealt in this YouTube channel in terms of our history in the liberation struggle, the formation of the liberation movement, how the working class led the liberation struggle, which of course was then hijacked. The liberation movement got hijacked, the split of 1963. So our statement speaks to that, but we will skip that. We have also discussed in this YouTube channel the attitude of the imperialist forces on the victory of ZANU-PF in 1980 and what the US diplomat Andrew Young said about the history, about the victory of ZANU-PF in 1980. We have discussed extensively in this YouTube channel again the formation of the movement for democratic change, particularly when we're discussing the Zimbabwe Communist Party program as adopted in our first Congress in 2019, and our statement deals with that as well. But let's briefly look into what we say in this statement about Mnangagwa and the Chamisa. The politics of Emerson Dambuzo Mnangagwa and Nelson Chamisa as leaders of ZANU-PF and Triple C respectively need to be scrutinized. Mnangagwa did not achieve his nickname Crocodile for nothing. Abundant evidence shows that he was the main mover in Kukurawundi. That is mass killings of mainly Ndebele-speaking people by the Shona-speaking 5th Brigade and other ZANU-PF controlled units. This was between 1982 and 1987. Then, in a much later episode dubbed Mini Kukurawundi, following the election of MDC MPs in 2008, some say Morgan Tsvangirai won that election in 2008. There was violence in Shona-speaking constituencies, in which for the first time since 2000, the opposition had won constituencies in rural Mashonaland. In the last video that we did point out that it was only in 2008 that the opposition was able to win rural Mashonaland and rural parts of rural Maswingo. The ruthless beatings and occasionally killing of Triple C supporters as well as the banning of the Triple C rallies during the recent election period are simply an extension of Mnangagwa's lifelong political behavior, as also was shown in 2008 when about 400 people were killed in the build-up to the rerun of the 2008 election, of which then President Mugabe contested alone. When the Mnangagwa-led coup came in 2017, opposition forces were involved. When ZANU-PF reneged on its pledge to bring MDC into government, the whole MDC leadership, including Chamisa, flew to Washington to complain to the US government, then under the leadership of Donald Trump. When Chamisa took over, took over the leadership of the MDC, there's a clip that has been circulating, and this clip was also shown to him by BBC Hard Talk when in a rally in Manicaland had said that Donald Trump had promised him 15 billion US dollars if he was to win for the purposes of rebuilding the economy. But we are pointing out in this statement also that the opposition in Zimbabwe is full of young people, and there is no problem in having young people participating, young people in the leadership position. But what we are pointing out in this statement, which I also did when I was writing to my comrade in Durban, who is a member of the Young Communist League of South Africa, that we have young people who are now leading the opposition in Zimbabwe. But these are not only leading opposition in Zimbabwe. We have young people across our continent that have been recruited, sponsored by the CIA. They might not know that these programs discussed as leadership training are actually sponsored by CIA. And we highlighted this in the Facebook note that I wrote, which I then circulated to other comrades and some chat groups, that just like Capricorn Society, which we also speak to in this statement, trained young people at the time, and this is what we are seeing. So, and they were pointing out in this statement that most of our trade unions rely on donor funding and they function more like NGOs as opposed to trade unions, because trade unions, by their very nature, are funded by its members, that is the workers. But when a trade union then it gets funded by some Western funders, it obviously will now advance the agenda of those that fund that fund them. As much as Zimbabwe needs a strong opposition to the kleptocratic ZANU-PF government and the class it represents, CCC, a weak organization funded by Western imperialism, cannot be the answer. In particular, at this current time, when there's a major shift in the world balance of forces and a new economic hub in the form of BRICS, a pro-Western government in Zimbabwe would have created a huge problem on the African continent. And we will have time to engage the Secretary General of the African National Congress when he says ZANU-PF is their friend, CCC represents the not this new agenda that we are also speaking to. We would want to clarify some few issues in respect to the class character of ZANU-PF, which we did a bit in the Facebook note, that piece that I wrote to my comrade in Durban. With regard to this last election, we cannot say whether or not ZANU-PF would have won or not without the extensive violence and the intimidation of voters. We note that most of the observers did not see the election as free and fair, and we take particular note of the comments from SADC observers. The Zimbabwe Communist Party supports the call for elections in Zimbabwe to be held in line with the Constitution as adopted in 2013, in line with the guidelines or SADC guidelines on holding free and fair elections or holding democratic elections. This is our position as the Zimbabwe Communist Party. So this is the statement of the Central Committee of the Zimbabwe Communist Party, which is circulating. So if you have not seen it, please WhatsApp me or 083 or +2783 +2783 340 1000 +27 1000. You drop your email, we will email to you this statement. Please like this video, subscribe, circulate this video. Otherwise, Amandla Comrades.